Hey, this is Alex, and I'm at California's North Coast with the beautiful coastal redwoods. Take a look at these incredible trees. And today, let's not get too distracted, but today I want to tell you guys a way that you can stop overthinking. Overthinking is super common. You get in these thought loops, you get anxiety, you keep going over the same conflicts and arguments, whatever it is. And the fact is, there's something about this that people don't normally recognize. And if they can hook onto that and understand it, they can actually make a huge step towards breaking down these processes of overthinking and just living your life in the moment. So first of all, I want to tell you something about what overthinking actually is that you might not know. What overthinking is, first and foremost, and most commonly, is it's basically going over thought loops that have been put in place from our early childhoods that have to do with seeking approval from others. When we get into thought loops, what we're mostly doing is we're looking for other people to approve of us and to support us and love us. And the way that normally will happen is we go over some interpersonal situation that we've had earlier that day or that week or maybe years ago. And it's just going over that situation. It can also just be imagining if you were in a different place, if you were doing this, if you were doing that, all kinds of situations that normally are sort of reinforcing what we think our boundaries are supposed to be. I'm supposed to be this kind of person. I'm not supposed to be this kind of person. It's kind of going over who we think we're meant to be as opposed to just being ourselves. And so in that sense, it's always looking for some kind of an approval. And if you go over the kinds of things you tend to think about over and over again, most likely they do involve other people. And in some sense, even if you weren't aware of this before, they will involve looking for that kind of love and approval from other people. So now that you've kind of established that, the next step would be to understand something even deeper. And this is really quite shocking because what you're ultimately doing then is, if you think about in terms of energy, if normally what you're doing when you're overthinking is you're going through these loops over and over again with the hopes of kind of feeling that you get other people's approval in your own head, to approve of the way you live your life, you have to understand that what you're really doing is it's a process of you taking energy. Because what you're doing is you're saying, I need other people to approve of me. I need their energy, their love, and their support. So you're retraining your mind over and over again to be looking for other people to give energy to you, to give their love and support to you. Pretty crazy, huh? And then what we need to understand is that if we actually want to be the loving, self-supporting, self-affirming people that we are, that don't need to question everything we do, that don't need to overthink, if we want to get into that place, we can start thinking in terms of giving, right? So here's what I want you to try doing. Just pay attention to when thoughts come in, these kind of overthinking loops that tend to come in. And when you sense something coming in, or you're thinking about your boss again, you're thinking about your partner again, you're thinking about that situation that kind of frustrated you again, whatever it is, just be aware of that and kind of hear that voice coming in, however it manifests, whatever form it takes, and say to yourself, what a beautiful sound I give. What a beautiful sound I give. So you just notice whatever the sounds of that voice is in your head. If you're hearing someone else's voice, if you're hearing your parents' voice, if you're hearing a version of your own voice, whatever it is, as soon as that thought loop starts up again, just take note. What a beautiful voice I give. Okay, so you want to make that transition and remind yourself that instead of just hearing voices, you want to be in the mode of giving instead and self-generating. You can also say, what a beautiful thought I give. You can say, what an interesting thought I give. You know, there's no set form, but it's just about taking the thought as it's arising inside of you and saying, instead of completely dwelling on this, I need to be aware of the energetic paradigm. Because let's face it, a lot of us and a lot of the kinds of people who tend to stress a little bit, tend to think about things, overthink, we tend to be people who care about others, who care about others' opinions, who might be empathic, who might be focused on making the world a better place, whatever the case might be. But this whole overthinking thing really frustrates us and kind of makes it actually harder to do that. But at our core, we are people who want to give. So what you're doing is you're sort of turning the old paradigm on its head, because we don't need to be little kids anymore that are trying to please our parents and trying to take our cues from them. We don't need to think in terms of mom and dad's approval mean that I act in a certain way and that I think in a certain way, right? So we can let go of those super old programs, which are, after all, the foundation and the origin point for this overthinking. We can let go of that. And to do that, just remind yourself that you don't need to take that energy of approval. You don't want to be a taking person, right? As an empath, as someone who cares, as someone who's conscious, you don't want to just take approval. You want to be able to give, right? I bet you never thought of yourself as selfish, or you never thought that overthinking involves a kind of selfishness. But now you know, in a weird way, it actually kind of does, because you're shutting off your own potential to be a self-generating, loving being that can pour outwards. The other thing that you can say too, if you really want to kind of jam it in and be a little bit more direct with yourself, would be to say, rather than just take, I give. Rather than just take, I give. Now, the goal there is not to shame yourself or anything like that and to say that you're a taking kind of person, but just if you really find yourself going into this loop, just be clear with yourself. Wait a sec. What I'm doing now is about looking for a way in my own head to take energy, support, and love from the outside. Well, why do I need to do that? Why do I have to be so focused on taking others' imaginary love of me? Why can't I give love to myself, give my love to them? Okay? So giving instead of taking, that's the key to unlocking this overthinking. Hope that helps you guys, and take another look at these gorgeous trees. Peace.